Remember thinking Drew McIntyre actually has a chance of winning the Royal Rumble and then he got eliminated like the only accomplishment he has on his record is a speed championship? Yeah, that was kinda weird. Well, apparently that was a mistake and Drew McIntyre wasn't happy with that. According to many sources, Drew McIntyre was angry at some talent. With the question obviously being, is it Damian Priest? Is it Logan Paul? Is it LA Knight? Is it Akira Tozawa? I'm kidding. Obviously, nobody has a problem with Akira Tozawa, not with these moves. And you also read the title, so you probably know, I hope so. It's LA Knight. So we'll talk about that, but also on greatness of wrestling. WrestleMania 41 plans, CM Punk's opinion on the Royal Rumble, Hulk Hogan doing Hulk Hogan things, and Fandango is back. Welcome back to the channel, ladies and gentlemen. How are you guys doing today? Like, subscribe, smash your partner, I guess. According to Fightful Select, Drew McIntyre was frustrated after his elimination, with Pro Wrestling Insider reporting that the spot didn't go as planned. LA Knight accidentally backed into Jey Uso, Priest, and McIntyre, messing up the timing and killing the drama. What was supposed to be a big moment ended up looking clunky. McIntyre was reportedly so frustrated that he stormed out of the building. So you probably heard about that. You know, Drew McIntyre wasn't happy, he left the arena, he didn't even finish watching the match, he didn't get to eat, he didn't get to complain on the internet that it wasn't John Cena. Now, I did rewatch this moment quite a few times, and yes, it seemed like the focus wasn't even on the elimination, and he definitely did bump into LA Knight. And can I say this? Can I just say this? As much as I love Drew McIntyre, I love the big Scottish warrior. I love him from the bottom of my heart, but doesn't seem like that big of a deal. You know? The thing that actually makes it bad is the fact that he got eliminated by Damian Priest in the first place relatively early in the match. Even if they focused on the elimination, I would be like, well, that didn't make a lot of sense. All this build, all this drama with Drew McIntyre, the Bloodline, CM Punk, Seth Rollins, and he got eliminated by Damian Priest so early, that was my problem. The fact that he bumped into LA Knight, that doesn't change anything for me, really. I've read somewhere that LA Knight doesn't really have heat from anybody, well, maybe except from Drew McIntyre, and I think he shouldn't because look at it this way, people. It was his first Royal Rumble match, and y'all know what happened with Penta. It's a lot of people in the ring. They are not used to it, so I say it's not that big of a deal. Like I've said, my problem is all this build, such a great year for Drew McIntyre, and he's facing Damian Priest probably at WrestleMania. And I really hate saying it, but I like Damian Priest. I really do. But he ain't it. Like, he's good, but he's not like over, right? I never understood why Triple H is so fascinated with Damian Priest. When we got guys like LA Knight so over, he didn't win the Money in the Bank briefcase, Damian Priest won, and I always questioned why. And again, don't get me wrong, he's a solid worker, but even when he was the World Heavyweight Champion, I was like 50-50 on it. I could never fully take him seriously. He never really got over to the point where people were actually begging for it, right? And then you have a guy like Drew McIntyre, who's one of the top guys in the WWE. People are begging for that one more World Heavyweight Championship title reign. Putting him in a match against Damian Priest, from Drew's perspective, is really meaningless. From Damian's perspective, sure, he gets to wrestle Drew McIntyre, who's really over, and the story might be decent, but from Drew's perspective, I get his frustration. Maybe he's actually frustrated about getting eliminated by Damian Priest. Drew McIntyre versus CM Punk was the storyline of the year, so CM Punk goes to WrestleMania, possibly with Seth Rollins or Roman Reigns, and Drew is gonna wrestle Damian Priest in like his second match at WrestleMania. And if Drew is not happy with that, how could you blame him? I say do LA Knight versus Drew McIntyre instead. Both guys are super over. Sure, wouldn't be a big deal for Drew McIntyre, but if I would have to pick, I mean, that would be so great for LA Knight, who was so popular but is slowly losing that popularity. Putting him against Drew McIntyre, I think they could tell a pretty decent story, but, you know, if the beef is real, if the beef ain't vegan, maybe we could get some problems with that. All in all, I really hope Drew McIntyre is getting a bigger match at WrestleMania. Sorry to say it, but that's how I feel. Let's talk about WrestleMania 41. Pro Wrestling Insider is now saying the current plan for WrestleMania 41 is indeed Roman Reigns versus Seth Rollins versus CM Punk in a triple threat match. So I already said that this is going to happen. It's kind of weird though. So CM Punk's whole deal is that he wants to main event WrestleMania. Technically, when you're in a match against Roman Reigns, when you're in a match with Seth Rollins, in a triple threat match, you get to main event WrestleMania, but the championship is not on the line unless somebody wins the title. But then we have Jey Uso. Jey Uso is facing possibly Gunther. Cody is possibly facing Cena. The whole point of winning the Royal Rumble match is to main event WrestleMania. Now we know WWE are tricky with this shit, but is John Cena versus Cody not main eventing? Is Jey Uso winning the championship not the main event? And then you have Charlotte's match, which should technically be the main event, but judging from that reaction, probably won't be. But I was thinking about this match and I'm like, okay, so maybe the favor that Paul Heyman owes CM Punk is actually a match against Roman Reigns. That's how we will get this match, with Seth Rollins just sliding into it. The reason he wants a match against Roman Reigns is because he knows Roman is the guy. Roman is the guy, and if I get to have a match against Roman Reigns at WrestleMania, Paul will make it happen. I will get to main event WrestleMania. Roman is the top dog. Now, I could be totally wrong right here, but I feel like that makes a lot of sense. Speaking of CM Punk, this is what he had to say about the Royal Rumble. During an interview on the Good Guy, Bad Guy podcast, CM Punk said that if he had booked the Royal Rumble, the final two would have been him and John Cena, with John Cena actually winning. However, he still appreciates Jey Uso's victory. He basically said, yeah, I didn't want Jey Uso to win, but I'm not like you, Marks. For me as well, who feels 50-50 on Jey Uso winning, this seems like a dream scenario. Obviously, like I've said in my review, I wish we got more interaction between John Cena and CM Punk, like one of the greatest WWE rivalries of all time. And then you're like, okay, I don't care who wins. It's awesome. I think CM Punk's idea would solve the biggest problem. Nobody would be angry about that, other than people who hate CM Punk because he left their favorite company a couple of years ago. Back to WrestleMania, people. On Raw, we just saw one of the greatest Raw matches of all time. I watched this match for the second time and I'm like, I kinda undersold this shit. This was great. I talked about how great it was, but I wish in my Raw review I actually went a little bit deeper into it, because this match was absolutely amazing, and that happens when you have two great talent, an absolute dream match. The match itself was great, and they actually have something to fight for. It's really hard to make these non-title matches feel important. Obviously, a lot of credit goes to Sami Zayn. He's absolutely unbelievable at this, but people are sleeping on CM Punk, man, calling him old, washed, this and that and this and that. I'm like, I'm not seeing any of it. Every time I see this guy in the ring so far, it's absolutely unbelievable. Dare I say he's, pissing excellence. So we saw Kevin Owens turning on Sami Zayn, and my dumbass already said WrestleMania match, and I talked about how this is gonna be their first WrestleMania match, completely forgetting that they already had one. But also, what about Randy Orton? I completely forgot that the biggest story right here is that Kevin Owens, turned on Randy, and Randy is injured. Eventually, he's going to make that comeback, which seems that it's not gonna happen anytime soon. So, there's still some time until WrestleMania. Orton returns, Randy versus Kevin Owens. Sami versus Kevin Owens might happen at Elimination Chamber, and that would be a great match. But then again, Sami is injured right now in kayfabe. But there's a bigger story, people. CM Punk was involved, and there's footage of CM Punk being really concerned about Sami Zayn. And on SmackDown previously, we saw CM Punk and Kevin Owens interacting. I think that's the story for the time being. CM Punk and Kevin Owens. Now, CM Punk being in the Elimination Chamber match, I don't know when we're going to get this match, but obviously CM Punk is gonna stand for what's right. CM Punk versus Kevin Owens. Prepare, people, we're about to get some of the greatest promo work ever. We're about to get some of the greatest matches in the WWE of 2025. Speaking of doing the right thing, there's one man who fights for what's right, fights for your life, and lies. He lies a lot. Y'all remember Hulk Hogan getting booed? So we got him on Pat McAfee's podcast. Obviously, Pat made fun of him. So this was really fascinating. Let me give you the gist of it. He says he expected the boost, brother. He wasn't surprised by the crowd reaction. He blames past heel run. The last time he was in LA, he was Hollywood Hogan. He really said that. He feels like people booed him because 50 years ago he was Hollywood Hogan in LA. I can't with this guy. I can't with his brother. He obviously does acknowledge political reasons, and we had such a great moment in this podcast where basically Hulk Hogan said, "I had a lot to do with politics, brother," and Pat said, "Yeah, and some other stuff." A certain word that starts with the letter N. And it's not neighbor. Can you be this delusional? I don't think so, man. I don't think you can be that delusional to think that people are booing because 15 years ago, 20 years ago, I was Hollywood Hogan in that city. You can't be. He also claimed, man, I was like the most over guy. I outdrew the biggest names in the company. You're not helping the situation. You are not helping the situation. Well, nothing new here. Hogan lies. He loves to lie. Finally, people, on NXT we saw the return of Fandango with the WWE theme song and all, so that's great. Obviously, he's part of the Impact roster. Sorry, TNA. You know what this made me realize again? For the 566th time, the music, man. Like, come on, he was, I wouldn't say a jobber, but a lower mid-carder in the WWE for the majority of his run. And the song is better than 90% of music right now. It's so catchy, it fits his character so well. You look at Fandango, you hear the theme song. We need Jim Johnston back. I don't care at this point, man. And obviously, I'm so happy to see him back in the WWE. Like I've said, we see these returns of these past legends, but I really appreciate when we get the returns of people we watched when we were teenagers, right? I rewatched this moment for like 5 times because the music goes so hard. And again, it's not necessarily music you would listen to, but the vibe, you know, it just fits the vibe so well. Well, anyway, people, that's all I got for you today. Thank you so much for watching this video. As you can see, the format is a little bit different on Greatness of Wrestling, so I hope you enjoyed it. As always, the great one, peace, love, and hugs. It's been a pleasure.